4, 3, 2, 1. Hey there, Fatherhood for the rest of us. It is Brandon Hanley, and I am on today with Jeremy Roadruck, who is helping entrepreneurial dads connect at home, influence their kids, and rock their wives. He is the head owner and instructor of Meg's Martial Arts of Centerville and multiple author of multiple books. I'm just really happy to have Jeremy on here today. He and I have connected, I think it's been quite a few months now, probably about half a year, I'd say.
Almost,
maybe around that. And, we've been trying to get together on this Fatherhood for the Rest of Us podcast for a little while now. And here we are. We finally made it, Jeremy. Tell me something that I can help you celebrate today, brother.
Well, we've had my stepson's been with us for the last 3 weeks. He goes back tomorrow to his dad's house. And so we've had a really great time with him. We had 4 days of vacation that we surprised the kids with. We drove to the beach. And my daughter's 4.5. She's never been to the beach.
Nice.
They both loved it. She had a great time. They both got slammed once because the inner tube, if you sit on top of it in a pool, totally fine. In the ocean with the breakers, not a good idea. So we learned some things today.
Awesome. I love that. The waves take no prisoners, right? They don't care how big you are.
Nope.
You're pretty sure you're going under. So, let's kick it around a little bit. Like, you know what is something that you want people to leave with if they just decide that they don't want to listen to this whole podcast and they just want to know, Jeremy, what is like 1 or 2 things you can leave me with as far as it relates to I'm going to say martial arts, because you're huge in that, right? And then the second part is just parenting. 2 of those things, they go away. What do you want to leave them with some golden nuggets with?
Well, I'll say one thing: same fighting and raising kids, being a husband, being a father. The number one thing is this idea of positional authority versus influential leadership. And you really need to be operating in influence. When you're sparring, you got to get somebody to play your game. If you're playing theirs, you're going to get trumped. So you got to figure out, what is my strategy? They like to kick. I want to strike. They will want to strike. I want to grapple. They want to grapple. I want to kick. Rock, paper, scissors. So how do you get to that place where I could get them to start playing my game? I got to leave openings. I got to entice them. I got to know what motivates them, what their priorities are. Then I can feed them what they need to take action. And then fighting leads to my advantage, because I can make them dance. Right. And with your kids, with your spouse, same deal. How do you build that influence? What influences them? And that's like such a critical skill, because a lot of guys, we get into this thing where we tunnel vision, we dig our heads in, dig our heels in. I know I'm right, damn it. And that's great. But you're losing everybody at the same time, and no one wants to listen to you because you're a jerk. So you gotta adjust the communication, not give up your point of view.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. So that works in both, in the martial arts and as parenting. 2 birds, 1 stone, brother. Well
Absolutely.
done.
That's efficiency. That's what we do.
Well done. So, let's talk about, your journey through martial arts and, what it is that's made you become a full-time instructor, run the gym, and stuck with it for, I think it's been 20 plus years, around 20 years for you, right?
24. Yes, sir.
Wow. So take us on the journey, man.
Well, I was one of those really smart kids that none of the adults could get a hold of or influence. And I went through some things at a very young age I wasn't conscious of. But I was basically running a game of, I am the only person I can rely on for my survival. So I always stood like with my back to the wall. I always knew the lay of the land. I always knew who was where and what was going on. I was very, very observant. I was really quiet because I was observing everything. I had to know, well, how do I have to show up in this environment? And so that made me a very interesting kid and teenager, and really smart. I got kicked out of the gifted reading program, gifted math program in middle school. And so I just had a hard time growing up, and I kind of had to socialize myself, figure out why is things the way they are. And I started martial arts when I was 20, and it gave me a way to get out of my head so much and get kind of back into my body and actually build confidence, not projecting this intellectual dominance thing that I would throw out, because I didn't like me. I know you're going to reject me. I'm not going to wait for you to do it on your terms. I'm going to do it on my terms. So like one of my Kung Fu brothers, the first time I met him, he went to shake hands and I said, "Oh, I don't shake hands." And he's like, "Oh, yeah? Why is that?" Well, shaking hands is an ancient greeting between warriors to signify you're not carrying a weapon, but you study martial arts, which means your whole body's a weapon. And so that means you're lying, and I don't believe in lying.
Right, right. I mean, that's, look, that's one way to go. And it sounds like, though, you kind of caught yourself, though, before it became too long. Like, that's a
well,
self-defeating pattern, right?
well, that was 20, and I
Right,
didn't really kind of get things going until I was about 26. So
right.
he hated my guts for about 3 years.
Sure.
Here I was, I'm 5'11" and 140 pounds, soaking wet. And
Wow.
I'm gonna run my mouth like that, and it's just like, oh, he prayed that I would last until sparring. He was gonna hurt me, and I did. And he beat the crap out of me, and it wasn't any fun because I was like, that was cool, do it again. And it was like, you ever have a dog that wants a toy and then you give it to it, it doesn't want the toy anymore?
Right.
It was kind of like that, where he wanted to hurt me because I was such an arrogant piece of crap. And it turns out I actually wasn't who I presented myself as. There was this other stuff going on under the surface. And so when
Sure.
he beat the crap out of me, it's like, you're relentless, dude. This is insane. Because he would beat the snot out of me, and I would just love it, get up and come right back, and I would learn
Sure.
and improve. And so it was like he saw my real character underneath. So it took me
Right.
about 6 years to really kind of mellow.
Okay.
And then noticing kind of the impact that martial arts made on me and kind of reintegrating me as a person.
Sure.
That I noticed I had an ability, especially with the kids that were a little bit more, diffident. They were more put up a wall, keep their distance, hard to influence. They didn't want to play the reindeer games, but they wanted to be there.
Mm-hmm.
They were just hard to reach. And those are the kids that I worked with the best, because I could just kind of nudge them. I knew that energy, and I could just nudge them here and there and kind of spark them and challenge them, that they would come back at me.
Right.
And that's how we played the game, and life got really amazing. And so, knowing the impact martial arts had on me, I wanted to open a school. I wanted to teach as well, to impact other lives, other families, because from 6 to about 26, I was a jerk that didn't need to happen, but nobody around me knew what to do or how to work with me.
Right.
And so now I'm who I needed when I was 6.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I love that. I think that's now I think that's kind of how we are as like parents too, right? Like, we were like, whatever was missing, we're trying to fill that up. Right. It's like a big old cover of spackle. We're like, well, there was a hole there. We're going to putty that up. We're going to fix this one over here. And all these things that I didn't have, I'm going to give to you. So, but, and that sounds like kind of like we're doing with some of these kids, right? You're able to recognize these traits, like you said, this dissidence and staying away from it all and being able to pull them in and engage them. And now, how much does your degree, I think you had like some psychology in there, right? Does that work with this very well and helping that along?
Yeah, I took philosophy and psychology in college, and I didn't quite finish it because martial arts stuff, there were grandmasters, 40, 50, 60 years they've been training. They're not going to be here forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I took those opportunities, but I did continue my education. I have hypnotherapy, neurolinguistic programming, neurostrategies. So I have other frameworks besides, college type psychology.
Right.
And that stuff, it absolutely applies because, as a kid, you have psychology, you have reverse psychology. Well, I was smart enough to figure out you're trying to push me this way, so I'm going to go sideways, and neither of us are going to be happy. F you.
Right.
So yeah.
I got a question for you. I mean, so you recognize that and you see that. What are some of the strategies that you're using to engage and keep the children engaged? If it's not one of those other things, right? If it's not like this direct, hey, go do this, and they're like, meh.
Right. So first thing I got to do is I kind of figure out, are they in what I call dog training mode, or are they in cat training mode?
Mm.
And there's a pop that happens when you're born up until about 3-4 years old. You're in cat training mode, and you only care about what you care about. You ever try and motivate a cat? You have to use what they want. You can't use anything else. And you can't use negative reinforcement, because if you smack a cat, they look at you like, what was that? And you do it a second time, they're done with you. You're probably going to get some claws along the way. And a dog will be like, oh, my bad. I'm sorry, dude. I will do it again. So about somewhere between 3 and 5, that's when the dog training mode kicks in. The herd instinct shows up. We want to be part of the group, and what is going on with the group matters, that sort of stuff. And that'll last generally around 10 years old. Between 10 and 12, the herd with the family unit drops down. The peer group begins to increase. Your influence as a parent starts to drop because your kids are now making their own decisions. And then they go back into cat training mode, but they have that underlying dog integrated now, and they do have that loyalty, and they do have that sense of things, but they care about what they care about. And so if I'm on that second phase of cat training mode, then I've just got to align with what they want. It's like, dude, you want to borrow the car? I'd love for you to borrow the car. What has to happen first?
Right.
Well, what do you mean? Well, look around the room. Look around your room. Does it make mom feel warm, big, and happy, or not so much? Not so much. Great. So if your room looks like this, what's my answer? Do you want to borrow the car? Not so much. So you take care of your stuff, and then I'll take care of my stuff. This is how it works. You got to give to get, dude. So if this is what you want to have happen, I would love for that. What needs to happen? And by asking what needs to happen, they begin to start thinking. They begin to own their answers versus us telling them.
For sure.
And we're doing what's called laddering. We're giving them the process of logic that they can begin to think for themselves. We're training them how to make their own decisions.
Right.
So that at 18, they're actually intelligent adults that can make choices versus giant children who are still holding on to the coattails all the time.
For sure. I mean, it sounds like coaching, right? I mean,
it's exactly what it is.
I mean, when we're coaching people, we want to give them the tools, want them to have the answers, give us the answers back, right? Like, so we're not feeding the answers.
Nope.
Because that's not really being of service to them. It's building a codependence, and it's not letting them go off on their own. So
right. When I work with the kids, what we say as adults is trivia, because it's just information. What they say is gospel. So how do I engineer the conversation so they take ownership?
Right.
Because if we work with a family and they have a split home and the kid is here and the kid is there, and how do we handle rules both places? It's like easy. You just sit down and write down the rules.
Right.
Do what? Yeah, your kid's 8 years old. Write down the rules. And here's the rules in our house. I can't speak to dad's house because he doesn't, that's not here that you're here. So what are the rules here? When they come over for your house for visitation, you pull out the rules and go, hey, just a quick reminder, da-da-da-da-da, we good? All right, cool. And that's it. It's just like, hey, we're playing baseball, we're playing football. So if you think we're playing baseball, I think we're playing football, and you pick out the stick, and I'm like, what are you doing? And then I run and tackle. You're going, what am I doing? We're playing two different games.
Right.
Just clarify real quick. And then as they get older, be like, hey, this rule, it's not fair. It's not right. All right, cool. Well, here's the goal. Here's the goal for that rule, or here's why it's there. How would you change it? And then you're allowing them to, because they're getting more competent and more capable. I don't want to have to micromanage you, dude. I wipe my own butt. I don't want to wipe yours too.
For sure.
And then that gives them the freedom to change that conversation. And you're constantly doing a head check. My daughter's 4.5, and she started telling stories 3 weeks ago. And she's in her aunt's house, and just playing and coloring, whatever. And somehow, we don't know, just magic, Pink ended up as an X and a dot on the couch. And her aunt has a camera in the living room. So we know exactly what happened, but we got a story. It's like, hey, did you do this? No. But she blinks her eyes a whole lot when she makes up stories. So she now has, like there's this whole world of shift in the last 3 weeks because she now has a screen between us. And she has her own internal world and her own ideas different from us. And she's starting to realize that. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you stuff that isn't exactly true because you don't know. And so it's really interesting to see kind of the growth in her as a person. She's regressed a little bit with meltdowns. I think we're starting to come back out of that now. Right. But just watching her like shift gears and integrate new knowledge, it's like, dude, this is super cool.
Yeah. No, it is.
I didn't get to see that with my stepson.
Yeah, it's super, it's really amazing to see the transitions from, I'll just call them like different states of consciousness, right? Like as they kind of level up. And now my oldest is just 9. But even that, like you still see like every year, every 6 months, every couple months, you see these shifts and like and what they recognize, and it's really it's just really amazing to participate in that. And the bad part of that, of course, is anything that you don't like that they're doing. There's a good chance that it may have come from you, right? Yep. which is also the good part though too, because that gives you the opportunity to make those adjustments, right? How are you showing up in the world, and a good chances are that you're showing up in the world the way that your children are kind of mimicking back to you, right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
if you want to fix it, cool. If not, like that's also your choice,
Right.
right?
And that's another set of games you get to play as it rolls forward, because they'll reflect right back at you with less
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
love it. Let's talk about your book too, brother. Your best
Sure.
child ever. Is this game worth winning? Let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me about the book. I believe if I recall correctly, you wrote this book before even having children.
That is correct.
Yes.
So I had been teaching martial arts for about 17 years at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And you've really got to be like not paying attention. You got to be asleep at the wheel to not start seeing patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And parents bring me their kids, and it's invariably discipline or confidence, one of the two.
Right.
I want my kid to speak up more. I want them to listen better. And so it's just, I started to realize there's just some fundamental games that are being played that the parents just don't know.
Right.
Or there's tribal wisdom that's useless, or there's positional authority. I was on a group, and it's a neighborhood community group for where I live. And some kids are being dill holes or whatever, and somebody posted, and they were like, well, kids need to get spanked, and that's what's wrong with this world. And I'm like, okay, my daughter was in the NICU for 13 weeks, 2 days. She was a pound and an eighth when she was born. So she's now 4.5. She doesn't want to listen to me. I should beat her spitless to make her pay attention to the things I want her to do. Is that really what you're suggesting to me?
Right.
It was over $750,000 for my daughter to make it out of the hospital, and now I should beat her because she doesn't listen. Or should I improve my communication and begin to understand her point of view as well?
Right.
Because it's a both and. It's not either or. So I'm not saying kinesthetic communication doesn't work sometimes, because when they reach for dangerous things, they don't respect the word no. You can smack, use a finger and smack hey, no, that's dangerous. They're going to touch fire. They're going to run into traffic. She was raised on a leash just like me. That's not bad stuff, but it's how do we start playing games where we both get to win? You get to feel good and I get to feel good.
Right.
Because what I've discovered, as human beings, we all play games. We're all energy addicts. And if we can't motivate people to give us energy, we will manipulate to get energy. And so why fight that? Just align with it. My dad read a book when I was a kid called Games People Play, and it was new, coming out in the 70s, and it identified a lot of the dysfunctional games that people play and the way they manipulate and all these sorts of things to justify basically either codependent or dysfunctional relationships. The problem with the book was no solutions. Like, no, here's how to play a better game. It was just, here's the stuff. You're going to play the yes, but game, or you're going to play the screw you game, or they identify these games.
Right.
But then they don't say, here's how to do better.
Right.
And so I kind of wrote my book as an answer to that, saying, well, here's games worth winning.
Right.
Because, you've seen the teenager, I was that teenager, and they try really hard, they don't get their result, and then they play the poor me game. And they're going to go in the garden, they're going to tear their clothes, they're going to eat worms and throw dirt on their head, and they're going to be the world's best poor me ever.
Yeah.
Because we're wired to win the games we play. Sure. Right? Human beings literally are a born winner. You won the first race, or you wouldn't be you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, first of all, the odds are, what is it, like 1 in 400 trillion or something like that, and being born. Trillion, yeah. So that's a pretty slim chance, and I love just even knowing that, because you're like, well, I should probably take a little bit of advantage of this. Like, what's that mean? Right. Exactly. But I love that you're talking energy though. And I know that in martial arts, and I'm not sure how deep you go into, energy. I'm sure you go pretty deep into it, but, I think, good or bad energy, it doesn't really matter. It's like you're talking about right here. You can be the best poor me ever, right? Because that's what you've just, you just said, hey, look, this other game that all the other kids are playing, I'm not cut out for it. I don't really like it, and it's not my gig. But I want all of your energy anyways, and here's how I'm going to get it. So good energy, bad energy. As children, as youths, as we're growing up, we don't differentiate. We are addicted to energy. And so whatever kinds you're willing to give to me or to you, you'll accept.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the whole thing is we got to have the we have to have the quantity first, and then positive, negative second. If I don't get energy, I don't exist.
Right.
And that's from a baby point of view. If babies don't get engagement, they cease to exist. It's called failure to thrive, and they just die. They wither and they die because nobody cares. So the fact you're even alive, somebody cared about you enough to give you energy that kept you alive.
Right.
You already matter. And so it's noticing that game that someone's playing. I can't do this, then I'm going to play the I can't game, or I'm going to play the help me game or the poor me game. I'll be a victim because I get so much energy from being a victim. In psychology, it's called secondary gain. As long as they're not conscious that they're doing it, then it's secondary gain. If they're conscious, it's called malingering, and then it's manipulation. Right. But if you're not, you see people that they always have a problem, and you try to offer them solutions. They always have a problem for every solution, and I can't do that because that's actually a yes but game.
Yeah, they can't get the energy that they're used to getting.
They don't, and that's the thing, is they don't know how to get. There's actually a better quality of energy, but the devil I know is better than the devil I don't know, they're scared of that gap. So I'll stay with this. I don't like this energy, and it hurts me and it wears me down. But I know what it is, and I have certainty, and I'm guaranteed to get it. So I'm not in enough pain to let it go yet.
That's and look, I mean, that describes so many people, right? And it's tough to see. It's tough to see. So so that sounds like what your book is really kind of hitting towards, right? Really making these win-wins. And I love that you reference a book that it had all of these problems, but none of the solutions, right? Like here's the game, but like it reminds me of sometimes I'll do those, who am I tests, the disc tests, and all these other tests. Like, here's who you are, but they don't tell you what to do with it, right? Like, how do I harness these strengths that you're showing me? So similar to that, right? So what else is it like in martial arts? What it's confidence. It's learning to use your bodies. What are some other things that you would recommend parents to get their children into martial arts for? And why would some adults who is it ever too late to take martial arts?
I have students that started in their 60s, so no. In our Kung Fu family, we have a grandmaster 4 or 5 generations that he was in his 50s when he started and still became known as a grandmaster.
Wow.
So it's not about the age. It really is about just the commitment and the focus. And I think martial arts is something, various approaches and styles and ranges and skills and personalities. But I think if everybody in the world studied martial arts, there'd be a whole lot more peace, because when you've attained the skills of devastation, when you can destroy someone, it removes the desire, because it's like, well, what's really going on? Let me sidestep my ego. You dying over you cut me off in traffic or you bumped into me at a bar, one of us dying isn't worth it. So I can be more generous. I can be more patient. I can be more understanding, because I know I have this line I can drop anytime, but I don't need to. But when people are insecure, when they're afraid, when they're worried, they have to, notice me, look at me, and they have to puff up their chest, right? Because you do martial arts too. We talk about this idea of fight or flight, but there's also inside the same species, there's things called posturing and submitting. And that's what keeps the species alive. And you'll see people do that alpha posture. Look at me, I'm big, I'm huge. And, oh, you're so big and you're the badass, I have to leave. So, but when you lose that need, when someone's posturing, you can disarm it. You can agree with them. Hey, you looking at my woman? Oh my gosh, yes, dude. She's beautiful. You, my friend, congratulations. You're amazing, obviously, to keep her attention. Can I buy you guys a drink? Because thank you. I need to see that kind of example. I was single for a long time, and so it's really great to see couples together like this.
Right. I love it.
And now what did I just do? I totally cut his legs out from underneath him, and he's got nowhere to go without looking like a total punk. And it's like, yeah, that's right. She's hot. And I buy him a couple drinks. It's like,
and I just scored 3 drinks. I mean, total win.
Yeah. And what did he really need? He was puffing up, and he's like insecure. He wants to be noticed. Great. I just feed all that stuff, not in a condescending way. I'm not blowing smoke. I'm like, dude, that's really impressive.
Right.
You must be very happy. I'm happy for you. And one of my students, he was actually he was in a combat situation in the past, so he had a lot of anger and a lot of different things going on. And he was at a bar, and a guy came in, biker leathers, big beard, burly, just came in and grabbed his drink and just chugs it down right in front of him, slams down the bar and says, "What are you going to do about it?" And Shane just kind of looks at him and starts laughing and goes, "Mate, that's the funniest thing I've seen all day. Have a seat. Let's get you another one. You're obviously thirsty." Just buys him a drink. And just like before, that guy would have been a bloody mess.
Right.
But as we studied the different things that we do, it's just, that's funny. Obviously, you're thirsty. Let me buy another one. And they had 3-hour conversations, just hanging out, talking trash and being silly in a bar, where it could have been somebody ended up in the hospital. I mean, ego could have flared, all this stuff. It's just, it's not worth it. He's not disrespecting me because he can't have my self-respect.
Right.
Does that make sense? I mean, that's just that confidence. If we could teach that to kids, you can't make me feel bad without my opinion.
Yeah.
Without my permission, you have no opinion over me. Thank you. And you're just information.
For sure. I mean, you have to be able, and it's so funny. I had this conversation yesterday. It's like, you've got to be able to, just because somebody says something, you've got to be able to not accept it. Right. It says, calls me a dummy. If somebody calls me a dummy, you can just be like, yeah, I hear you, but that's not me, right? Or like
right.
The Wayne Dyer thing, like if you're walking down the street and somebody calls out behind you, hey, stupid, and if you turn around, you know what I mean? Like you don't have to turn around, like, and so
yeah.
Same thing with like the children though, like teaching them to not have to accept what other people's are thinking about them.
Of course. Yeah. Well, I have kids, I teach as young as 3-4 years old, and I get the 4-year-olds, and they have these random wonky conversations. Hey, great, thanks for sharing. And now we're gonna
right.
And someone spouts off some random opinion. Hey, thanks for sharing. Have a nice day, and just walk off.
Right. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you've got a 4.5-year-old too. Like, so you also, I mean, I'm sure you knew before then, but like now it's just like more of these stories. And I think one of the things that you want to do or you do is like also engage them, right? Like, where'd you get the information from? That's a great story. Where's that coming from? That's funny.
We do that. We're like, who told you that? My brain told me that. Oh, I love that. You've got such a great brain. High five.
Right.
And then there's also this and this. Have you thought about that? Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah, she loves doing her workbook. So, I mean, she's always curious and always wants to know more. And and then my 9-year-old, he's now at the level, he's actually asking like really good questions. It's like, well, that's an interesting question. Do you want me to give you the real answer or just blow smoke? I want the real answer. Okay, let's get a piece of paper.
Right.
We'll diagram this crap out.
Right. No, yeah. I love it. So, what about like, I'm just trying to think real quick. We talked about like the adults taking it too, right? And how that can kind of differentiate some of the stuff. Outside of, again, like, the confidence levels, what are some other things that you might, expect an adult to be taking or the children to be taking from the martial arts?
The biggest thing really is the power of identity, because you become the story that you tell over and over. It's a self-hypnosis. So I had a lady who was in her 50s and she was a nurse, and every exercise we did in martial arts, I'm just the worst at this. Oh, this is just horrible. I'm just so bad at this. I'm like, excuse me, how did you ever become a nurse if that was your attitude?
Wow, right?
Oh, no, I didn't think about it like that because I was learning new things. Oh, okay. Well, this is the first time you've ever done this, right? Well, yeah. Okay, so is it the best or the worst you've ever done? Oh, this is just the worst. Really? Because if it's the first time, you have nothing to compare it against. It's the best and the worst. It's both. So which one gives you more positive energy?
Right.
And that was like a huge mindset shift for her. Because the problem, a lot of our healthcare providers, they're reinforced negatively. If they get people healthy, then we're going to take this healthy person and release them and give you more sick people. Accomplish anything. It feels like it because you're always dealing with sick people. It's like we got to change the metrics and start noticing how many people have we healed this week, this month, this year. That number builds all year long. It's like, oh my gosh, look how many people, how many lives, and you change that story. And so in the martial arts, as people gain more confidence, they gain more fitness, they acquire new skills. Right. Their story about themselves begins to change. And the really cool thing is, you'll have adults come in who they have an opinion of themselves, and the kids don't know about the adult's opinion.
Right.
And you'll have a kid, because in our school we do stripes for attitude and stripes for effort and things like that. Kid want to give a stripe to an adult for being, working really hard. Well, I saw you getting really sweaty and you were breathing really hard and you kept going, and that was really awesome. And I think that's self-discipline. You get a sticker.
That's awesome.
And to see the adults light up when you've got like a 7 or an 8-year-old giving them a sticker, because it's that adult's younger self being healed and being given that positive reinforcement. And then as you get the adult's younger self to get stronger, it ripples up, Because when we go deep into the Gestalt and deep into our lower subconscious, it pulls up to these higher levels and everything expands.
For sure. No, I love that. I love that. Thanks for sharing
I think
that,
I'm
because
lagging.
you're
I lagged
lagging a
for a
little bit.
second.
You're lagging a little bit. But that's great. So they're able to kind of come in and change their story. And I think that's huge. For me, it's been that way for me as well. I've only been doing it for about a year and a half. And the difference in who I am from going into the martial arts and taking these courses, and you talk about walking up to just being more confident in who you are, period, right? Or like being a little less afraid or rigid, like when you're out, like, listen, I've walked some streets that maybe I shouldn't have been walking on, but like I felt okay. Right. Like, now don't get me wrong. Like, I didn't feel like, I was going to Bruce Lee him, but like, I felt like, in this situation, I feel good. Right. Because,
Right.
and so being able to feel that way, right? Like, I'm not trying to walk up and start a fight and be like, oh, wait, I've been doing this thing for a couple of years now. I'm gonna have to show you what's up. Instead, I just feel good about who I am, knowing that I know how to use my body to defend myself. Right. And
Absolutely.
I just feel better. And it's just like you're saying, my whole story's been rewritten, right? Like, very similar to yourself. Geez, I don't even know about, like, I got through it in my 20s. Maybe it took me up until like my 30s before I kind of like started to release the I'm a bad boy attitude, or like, I'm so much smarter or better than you because like my poor me story is better than yours, right? Like,
right.
So
Race
I get
to the
it. Right. So I love it. I love that you can do that. Now, do you have anything online for your martial arts where people can reach out to you?
Not so much there. I'm moving more towards coaching, adults, men, couples, parents, families.
Okay.
And I really, in just the last couple of weeks, I've come to the realization, kind of what I help do is reduce the worries and fears for your kids, because I help you increase your communication, your rapport, your bond, your influence, so that your kids actually listen to the good stuff you have to share with them.
Nice.
Because it's a lot of that miscommunication. And I see a lot of adults, when they work with kids younger, they explain too much, and it doesn't really sink in because they can't handle it. And then they're teenagers, and then the adults fall into the shut up and do it because we're tired of explaining it.
Right.
When it actually has to flip. Because if as they get older, they can handle those shades. Well, here's what we should do, here's what we're going to do, and here's why. Right. They can handle that. They can handle that gray older. But when they're younger, they don't need to know about, well, the wind blows because the sun shines on the equator and it changes the temperature and the water vapor and you're in the weeds already. Trees are sneezing. That's why they have sap. That's tree snot.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, there's more complicated stuff, but for now, that's good enough. We'll talk when you're old.
It'll do for now. Yeah. It'll do for now. I love it. I think another thing though too, in coaching parents, that if you can get them to be more confident and be a little bit more of who they are, bringing out the best in who they are as people, right? Then they're automatically going to probably be less stressed and more likely to engage in a stress-free conversation. Like, there's a pressure release once, you go through this coaching and you figure out some things, right? You do the work, and then you're really a better family member, a better citizen, all those things.
Well, kids are super resilient, and a lot of parents are on eggshells because if I do this one thing, I'm going to screw my kid up the rest of their life.
Right.
Oh no, it takes work. Messing people up is an effort. It's not just one thing is not, and that's when I burned down the school. It's not just one thing and then there it goes. There's a pattern of things.
Right.
Kids, they adapt and they want to believe the best in you, and they love you, and you're their hero for so long until you tell them you're not.
Well, they see you as the best, right? For the longest time. Yeah. So I love that. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
So that's some great work that you're going to be doing there. That's great. I love it. So let's flip it over a little bit into fatherhood, right? What does fatherhood mean to you?
Fatherhood is the most awesomest and frustratingest thing I've ever done in my whole entire life, because without my wife, I would never get a break. I'm like, guys, dad needs to go in the cave. I love you. I got to go away and hit some things or do something because I love you, but just,
Right.
You get to this place as a masculine person, you kind of build up sometimes. You build up stuff, and it's like, I can't just go toe to toe with you guys. You're tiny little people. I can't just punch you. I can't just Like, I love you, but I'm so frustrated. And it's nothing you're doing. It's just daddy needs a break. Can you see that? Like we do very good about, mommy needs a break. Mommy gets time in the cave. Daddy gets time in the cave. Kids get time in the cave. We need that I love you. I got to time out. I got to go recharge.
For
And
sure.
it's a language pattern we have in our family because of that, because it's relentless. When
Right.
my daughter came home, she was on oxygen for 8 months, and
Wow.
we had a pulse ox on her. We had to put it on her. It's a little sensor for oxygen and blood levels, and we
Right.
had it on her feet, on her hands. She's moving around. We're doing all these different things. So like the first 8 days that she was home, like we would be awake during the day, and then I would stay up till like 2, 3 in the morning, or I'd stay up till 6. For the first 8 days, I was up till 6 every single night, like waiting to just make sure she's okay. And then I would sleep for a couple hours, 3 hours here and 3 hours there, and that's what I did. And
Right.
like the parents in the school were like taking bets with Simo, which my wife Autumn, her title is Sifu or Simo, but they were taking bets with her about, well, when is he going to crack? When's he going to crack? And it's like
Right.
it never happened, because I've been wanting to do this since I was 9 years old. I am so ready for this. But then she came home on oxygen and all these extra things. It was just like, like the first night she was home, she was in the NICU for 13 weeks, 2 days. So she was born in September, didn't come home until December. So
Right.
the first night she was home, I didn't sleep the whole night. I played, I think it was Destiny, the first one. I played Destiny. She was in the living room with me. I had a couple of sodas, and I'm watching her like all freaking night. There's
Yeah.
no, and like my sleep cycle is different now, because like anybody in the house makes any noise, I'm awake instantly, and I'm there. Because
Right.
my wife sleeps way deep. So it's just being able to be present for these other life forms, and being able to give them. My parents gave me unconditional love. My dad was military. He had to travel. He wasn't there as much as he wanted. So it's being able to create a different relationship with my kids has been amazing. And it's one of the greatest things I could ever possibly imagine. At the same time, it gets frustrating when I feel like other things are pulling my time away, when it's like, but I don't want to leave. I'm not ready. I don't want to go. And it's like, but I have to. I have this other mission besides my family. They're part of my
Mm.
mission,
Right.
but I have this thing to communicate to the world. I've been through these points of pain in my life, and I figured these things out. The world needs to hear this, so more dads can show up like I am in my family. Um, as we've been going through, like putting together courses, what problems do parents have? What problems are you having that you can help other people with? I'm not really having any problems with my family or communicating with my kids, because I've been
Right.
30 years I've been studying it. So I'm doing really good.
Right.
But it's just kind of like realizing, oh, here's where other people are struggling. I love being in the Fatherhood for the Rest of Us group, because I see the challenges and I see the questions. It's like, guys, it's not that difficult. There is 4 parts to this answer, and it's this, this, and this, and this.
For
It's
sure.
just, you know what I mean? So it's just like, come at it as a complete view versus just a one-off, do this one technique type thing. But it's great having those different perspectives. And like, there's a lot of ladies, I wish they could see some of the comments and some of the conversations we have, because they're like, these guys, they want to be such amazing dads, and they want to do such a great job. You would be so proud of these guys,
Right.
because so many women are so down on guys, oh, they just want this one thing, hit it and quit it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no,
Right.
those are boys looking to just get some feels. The men that want to be dads and they want to engage, I mean, they're just a whole nother level amazing. And it's my favoriteest thing. And being able to support dads and help them to get a better conversation, a better relationship, how to light your woman up. Because there's another group I'm in where it's all new fathers, and they're all just like struggling, and their women are mad at them, and they're pregnant, and they're hormonal, and I'm just the worst person. I can never do anything right. And how do I handle my mother-in-law? And like, it's like, oh my gosh, you're fighting 15 people at once, dude, plus your own fears.
Right.
Like, go get my book, and then let's talk. Like, that's just my constant, like, I don't want to pitch inside the group, but that's just my first answer. It's like, okay, go read my damn book. The first 4 chapters will set you up, because it's just learning how to get in the right frame of reference, and just seeing that there's just so much fear and pain, and it doesn't need to be there. And I love being a dad. It's like the greatest. It really is.
I love it. No, and it shows, right? So congratulations on becoming a father, right?
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely.
30 years from, I decided when I was 9 I wanted to be a dad. It took 30 years to get there.
Nice. Well, how is that? So you mentioned a little bit about your relationship with your dad. What at the age of 9, was going on that you made that decision?
Well, actually, at 5 and 6, I was abused by a security guard in Saudi Arabia because we were military. We were living over there, and then again here in the U.S. by a couple kids up the street.
Mm,
And I never told anybody until I was in my 30s.
wow.
But like the memories got repressed for 20 years. There was a lot of anger, a lot of fear. When I was 9, I stopped smoking. And I was I had read a thing on St. Francis of Assisi, and kind of his model of spirituality kind of spoke to me at that point in my life. And I was like, do I want to be a monk, go be a Franciscan monk? Do I
Right.
want to be a dad? And there was a part of me that said, well, you can't be a spiritual father until you've been a biological father. So I
Mm,
should go be a biological father. And
yeah,
that was
that's
kind
a
of my thinking. So at 9, I'm thinking about holy orders. Like, who the
wow.
hell? I'll start my midlife crisis. I'll start my midlife crisis at 9. And
For
then,
sure.
yeah. So that was my logic, and then actually 25 years later, I found out because one of my students, it was in his 60s, he had a heart attack at my school, and end of the night, like he it was the weirdest thing because he's like, hey, could you call could you call 911? And from here up is like completely gray. It's like somebody had just erased it. There was no color because he was having a heart attack, and within 14 minutes, the EMS had shown up, and he was already gone. And they like
Wow.
called the ex-wife, called the daughter, called his brother. They're trying to get a hold of people, and they're calling me, freaking out. And I'm like, hey, here's where he's at. And so at the end of the night, I'm in the hospital room, and Steve is laying in the bed, and his ex-wife is there, his brother is there, his daughters are, I think his son was there, and they're all looking at me as dad, and I'm younger. I'm the youngest adult in the room because the kids are
Wow.
still like 19 and 13. And the ex-wife and the brother, they're all looking at me to be dad because Steve is usually dad and he's laid out. And it was the weirdest, surrealist, most amazing thing to be, here I am and there's my little boy. And it was, so you can be a spiritual father without the biology, because I found that out before I became an actual dad. But then I became an actual dad too, and they're all awesome. That's all there is to it.
For
They're
sure.
all awesome.
For sure. I love it. So, what would, you said your relationship with your father, like
Oh
he
yeah,
wasn't there, as often as you would have liked. And,
yeah.
so talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, my parents, I was a challenge. At 4, I was climbing the roof of the house. I was constantly pushing on everything, everywhere, and I kept up a wall and kept my distance. And I treated them like garbage. They gave me unconditional love, but for me at that point in my life, they were impediments to the things I wanted.
Hmm.
And so I would give them whatever information I felt I needed to get what I wanted. I was very manipulative because I was running in scarcity. And for however harshly I treated them, or I remember, gosh, I was like 13, and I remember blowing up at my dad at the breakfast table because he was eating Cheerios, which he'd been eating since he was 10. And he always puts in like 2 spoonfuls of sugar, and then he's eating the cereal, and it's scraping on the bottom, and you can hear the grains of sugar bouncing off the cereal spoon as he's digging it through, and then he eats it, and he's making that crush awful noise. And I blew up at him, and I was just, can't you eat any quieter? God. And I just went into this full like on assault mode, just like, ah! And my dad, being the passionate person that he is, came right back at me at the same level of energy. And it was just like, you know, he was a powerful man. He was a passionate man. He's brilliant. He ran a project for the government. They were redesigning the F-15, and so he ran the contract for 8 years. And the government did an audit 4 times with no adjustments to his contract. They had a crisis with McDonnell Douglas, and he was like, "Yeah, go to this paragraph, subsection this, and just action that. You guys were to negotiate all this stuff," because he
Right.
had thought through all of the contingencies of how the contract could go wrong before they ever did it when they first started 8 years prior. So he's very intelligent, very thoughtful, very thorough, but at the same time, raging extrovert, as sensitive as a chainsaw at a bridal shower, but not from a bad place. He's just a massive extrovert. He understands his point of view, and he'll spout it off at any time.
Sure.
He wants to share what he understands. And he was a guy that gave me unconditional love. As much grief as I gave him, he was always there to support me, and he always had my back, even when I treated him like crap, even when I resented him, even when I attacked him for freaking eating cereal.
Right.
And it took me until I was about 26 to really start to respect who they were as people, because I had all these wounds from being a child and how I expected them. I fought with them for like 2 years when I was quitting swimming. I swam from 8 to 13. And 11, 12, 13, I'm like, I want to quit swimming. I want to quit swimming. No. Da, da, da. You only have 5 participation trophies. And there was all this drama around it. And when I quit swimming, I kind of quit talking to them for about 13 years.
Wow.
Throughout all of it, he's still been there because he's a deacon in the Roman Catholic Church. He really tries to live his faith and really try to be an example of that for his kids and for his community.
Right.
So, that side of him, I didn't really start to respect or really even begin to perceive until I was in my mid-20s.
Wow.
So late, it's been, they're 20 years almost. So I've really gotten to know my parents as people, not as adult caregiver, guardian figures in the last 10, 20 years. It's been a really rewarding experience.
Mm-hmm.
And there were lessons they taught me that I didn't realize because I was too blinded to my own pain at the time.
Right.
But it's stuff that's inside me now.
What's one of those lessons?
It's when you're going to support someone, you support them. I mean,
right.
it's not you sit there and you if you're going to tell someone I got you, then the answer is I got you. And there's not going to be this, well, what have you done for me lately? What's my return? When am I getting this paid back? When is this? It's just, what do you need? And you're there for someone. If you're going to allow that relationship to exist, when you're there for someone, you're there for someone. And that's the end of the conversation.
Right.
I mean, I remember as a family, we were driving somewhere and we were going past, there's a dam near where we live, and it's pouring down rain, and there's a guy walking on the bridge. And I mean, it's like you have like 30 feet of visibility pouring down rain. Right. And we stopped the car, got the guy in the van, and what's going on? His car had broken down. His wife stayed with the car. This is the days before cell phones.
Right.
So we took this guy down to the gas station, 20 minutes out of our way. We were going to miss whatever it was we were going to go do. But, me, my dad, my mom, my brother, this guy needed help, and we were here. If not us, who? And right. So we got this guy back to his car, had gas in the car, got him on his way where he needed to go. There's that example, and I've done that with my wife and with my kids, where we've seen someone on the side of the road. Hey, they need help. No one else is noticing. No one else is paying attention. If not us, who?
Right.
Babe, do you feel safe about this? Yeah, I feel good. All right, let's do it. And then we go and we help. I mean, that's sort of an example, because you never know when that could be a turning point in someone's life. Yeah. Where they're going to do something very bad to themselves or someone else, and you show them some compassion, and everything just turns and they go in a new direction.
Right. No, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Being open to that is just powerful.
Would you? No, absolutely. I agree 100%. Would you say that that's something that you've carried forward from your father?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Because go ahead.
What about, would there be anything else that you would say that your father did that you've carried forward into your fatherhood?
I definitely have his temper. Good and bad, but I mean, it's a power to get things done, but at the same time, it can be an explosive thing. So recognizing that in myself, when is my fuse getting too low, or I need to take a step back, being able to manage and regulate myself a little bit better. That's definitely something I've carried forward, and teaching my kids too, because my kids have the same energy. They can get frustrated and have these meltdowns. And it's like, hey guys, start to notice what's happening before we get to that point, so we don't have to have that explosion.
For sure.
I remember my dad snaking the sink and yelling and screaming at it and flinging tools into the thing. I'm like, wow, if only your parishioners could see you now. Shut up, boy.
For sure. What about some resources that you would recommend to parents outside of your book, which would definitely recommend, right? Your Best Child Ever is first and foremost. What are some other resources that you have found, books, videos, courses that have been helpful for you as a father?
For almost everybody I coach, I always recommend 3 resources, and they are The Way of the Superior Man, to start understanding masculine energy, by David Dida, and then Keys to the Kingdom and The Queen's Code by Alison Armstrong. And that's to begin to start understanding masculine and feminine dynamics. And she will say men, women, but I always say just listen for masculine and feminine, because we all have access to both. I can be in my feminine. My wife can be in her masculine. It doesn't invalidate who we are or change our orientation or anything like that. It's just we have access to these flavors. And when you're running a certain energy, you'll show up a certain way. And when you begin to appreciate that in your children, it gets a whole lot easier to work with them. When they're in their masculine or in their feminine, you can guide them a whole lot better.
I love that. I love that.
And for yourself and your spouse or your partner, whatever your situation. Yeah, so those are like always my golden 3. That plus Your Best Child Ever. Yep.
Of course. And then, let's say like 10 years goes by and your children pick up this podcast. What is something that you would like to thank them for? Like, and why?
Their honesty. When they are frustrated, they don't like try to hide that or shame that or make themselves wrong. When they're frustrated, they're frustrated. When they're angry, they're angry. When they're happy, they're happy. There's a level of beauty in that clarity. And I hope for them that they always feel comfortable expressing, especially me and mom, what's going on, what are you feeling, what are you thinking? We're going to listen with no judgment because we want to know what's going on with you. And so I hope they carry that forward. That is definitely something I want for both of them. And we may or may not have a third one and do the same thing for the third one. It's that be who you are,
Right.
Because we're going to love you and support you no matter what. We're going to question you. We're going to challenge you, but we're going to believe in you and we're going to support you at the same time.
Right. Right. And it's that raw honesty too, right? Just kind of, they haven't learned filters yet. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really it's really beautiful to see. So I love that answer. What, is there anything that we didn't cover on today's conversation that you really feel like fathers should know?
I think something fathers should know is your significant other should be your partner, and look at the relation before the ship. And I mean, look at the energy flow, the relation between the two of you before you look at the structure. Because sometimes people get so caught up in their roles or responsibilities, rights, privileges, duties, they put the ship in front and the structure in front. And you can be right and you can sleep on the couch tonight. Congratulations.
Right.
I would much rather be in love with my wife. And
Sure.
so sometimes I really have that conversation and say, is this worth it? Is this really worth it? And there's been a couple times we've gotten in fights and she's gone and slept on the couch and she wakes up, I'm on the floor right next to her because middle of the night she wakes up and she's like calmed down and she realizes she's got a new different point of view or whatever. And she's like, well, I miss him and I want to go. And there I am, because I've had that relationship where I slept for 1.5 years on the couch. It's just not worth it.
Right.
It's just absolutely, we got to figure this out because we're in this together.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's a great point. And I love how you put it there too. What is the energy flow back and forth before the structure, right? Like, I mean, the structure's there, but without like that good exchange of energy, the structure's kind of worthless.
Yeah. And if either of us, if me or Autumn are missing something from each other, we can just ask. I could really use this from you right now. Well, I can't do it right now, but how about in an hour? How about in 10 minutes? How about tomorrow? How about tonight? But just that, if we don't do a date night about every 7 days, after about 10 days, she gets really irritable, kind of like a lioness in a cage, and she's on edge because she's like, I need time with you, because one of her love languages is quality time.
Sure.
And it's just time with me, not the kids, not the time with time with you.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean go hop in bed. It could, but it also could mean go for a walk and just connect. It could be let's go watch nature. It could be let's just sit and watch a movie together. I just need you and no other distractions. Right. And either one of us needs to be able to ask for that, and the other one go, I got you, babe.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Perfect.
So important.
Perfect. Well, Jeremy, thanks for hopping on today. Where should I send people to go find out more about you?
I would say either go to freebook.theparentingprogram.com and get Your Best Child Ever is This Game Worth Winning, the only parenting book with a money-back guarantee, written by a guy, no kids, not married, wasn't even dating at the time. That's kind of the hook to go, well, who the hell is this guy? What does he think he knows? We'll read it and find out. And they go, oh, damn, he's on point. Like, that's right. How it is. And then the other one is just go find me on, actually it's Facebook, Jeremy R. the Kung Fu Guy. I'm the most active on Facebook of anywhere. I'm about to get involved with a group, and that may change here in the next couple of months. But for now, those are the best two places.
I love it. Well, thanks again for popping on today.
Thank you, sir. I really do appreciate your time, Brandon.